As we do our practice sitting here on the cushion in this together practice, or even when we sit on our cushion at home practicing, we may experience many kinds of feelings and emotions appearing and disappearing during the practice. As we practice from moment to moment, different thing appears. Different feelings, different emotions. And even though the outside conditions while we sit on the cushion is very much the same. We just sit here on the cushion, and still we may encounter different feelings coming and going. Now maybe sometimes it could be due to inside conditions of maybe you have a knee that hurts, and as it hurts more, other feelings appear. But even though we do not have any kind of pain inside our body, and almost no change in outside conditions while we are sitting, different emotions occur as we practice. Not always. Sometimes much, sometimes not so much. Now that's interesting. Maybe when you're sitting, you have some memory coming up from yesterday or even longer time back. And if it's good, you kind of get this good feeling coming as you go into that thought of that memory. And then maybe 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, something else appears in your mind. Maybe a different memory. And maybe some other emotion comes. So nothing is changed outside. We just sit here. We don't do anything particularly, but our emotions changes. That's very interesting. Also in our life, in our everyday life, with much more movement, as we go along with the day, facing or meeting or encountering situations, different situations during the day, also different emotions appear as the different situations and conditions. Sometimes we feel happy, and sometimes we do not feel so happy. Our human mind thinks in opposites. It thinks in opposites, meaning we make opposites inside our mind. We make good and bad, right and wrong, likes and dislikes, this and that. That's the nature of our mind, to create these opposites. And it appears in what Zen Master Seung San Sunim referred to as the seventh consciousness. The opposite thinking begins already when we're 1 to 2 years old. So when situations in our thinking is perceived as good, then we feel happy. If it's like what we want, then we feel happy. But if the situation, the conditions we currently face is not perceived as good, then we do not feel so happy. Maybe we're sad or angry. Different emotions occur based on our thinking and how we perceive it. So we make good and bad. So feelings and emotions are all dependent on outside conditions and situation together with how we perceive that condition and situation. That means that happiness is dependent on outside conditions. That has to be perceived as good. Then we're happy. Now this practice we do now, right now here, is not about getting a happy feeling. It's not about feeling good or pushing our mind into a specific kind of state or feeling. That's not what we do at all. Our practice is to stop making good and bad. It's to stop making right and wrong in our thinking, meaning leaving our thinking alone. It means leaving thinking alone. And just perceive this moment just as it is. Moment to moment. Just perceive this moment. And leave your thinking alone. We just leave condition be as they are. We could say we accept them unconditionally, just the way it is. If we can do that, if we can stop, make good and bad, right and wrong, and just leave moment as it is, just be in moment or be moment, then we no longer have any problems. There is no problem. There is just moment, just as it is. And when we truly can do that, then an incredible peace, a kind of inner peace appears. It's already there in each and one of us, but disappears as we leave things alone. Just accept everything, returning to moment completely, then there is complete stillness, complete intimacy with all things. That is the practice. Leave everything alone. Because inner peace, or this intimacy, is not dependent on anything outside yourself. It doesn't depend on anything. You can access it with practice. You have all you need. So that's our practice. returning to moment just as it is, returning to that peace and stillness that we already have inside, beyond our thinking. There's just this pure awareness of all things. There's not even things. So let's leave thinking alone. Let's stop making good and bad, right and wrong, and just return to moments. That's all. That's our practice.